So these are the entry gates. And we have to be really careful what we let in. And when we let in the wrong things, our health gets really disturbed. Our life gets really disturbed. And that's why death is such a good teacher. Because most of us avoid talking about death. Most people. Death, you know, yesterday somebody asked me, what are you going to speak about tomorrow? I said, death as a teacher. What? Death as a teacher. Death? Well, I'll come the week after. And death is kind of taboo. Yes, sometimes we can talk about death, but we really need to make friends with death. Because that's one thing and one place we all know that we're going to, for sure. And yet, every time somebody passes or leaves the body, we think that's it. We think it's final. We think it's, I'm never going to see you again. We break down. We think it's the end of everything. But really, death and birth are the same. You die to freedom to come to a body. You die from this body to go to freedom. Without a body, you can go everywhere. With a body, you are caught. So why do we have a body with these five senses? We have a body because we chose to come into this body to experience. But we need the immigration officer to look after it. Because when you realize with all your heart and soul that today might be your last day, when you realize that you have no control, really, you know that you are living now. That's all you know, correct? You don't know what tomorrow will bring, do you? You don't know. We don't know. 3 months ago she was fine. Suddenly she was hit with pneumonia. What happened? We don't know. So when you make friends with death, it becomes a teacher to you. How does it become a teacher? Because the one thing that man fears most is losing their own body. And many people will tell me, oh no, Nalanie, I'm not frightened of death. You know, I'm frightened of people that I love, that they should die before me. And I tell you, I have seen many people at death. If they have not fulfilled their life, or they have not fulfilled their mission, they are petrified. They are so scared, they resist death, they fight death. In fact, because they fight death, they stay in a very painful body, if it's suffering, for much longer. And if they were to face death, and no, I can't do any more in this body, they let their body go. They get a new body anyway, because you never die. You know, we use this mantra at the end of every class, and it goes like this. Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Amritam Gamaya. And it means, lead us to real, lead us from darkness to the light, lead us from the fear of death, to the knowledge of immortality. Also, the fear of death. I have also seen people who are frightened of death become sick very often. Many, because they're so frightened to die that the stress of dying makes them sick. Stress makes us all sick. But when death and birth can be looked on as just a continuous strain, that really we never die. We never die. You never die. As space inside and outside, you can never die. What you will die to is to who you are now. That's real. That's the death you're frightened of. Thomas, can I help you? You seem a little bit unnerved. How can I help you?
No.
What would you like? Sure? Would you like to sit down? Would you like to go in the kitchen? What would you like?
I'll just go and put my stuff in the kitchen.
Okay, thank you.
I think he's not sure of the subject.
You're very welcome. I think you're... Yeah, he's worried about the death bit, right?
It's confusing to him.
Yes, because he lost his father.
Yeah.
It would be really good for him. Should I tell him?
Yes, please, because I did and he didn't.
Thomas?
React.
Yeah, tell Thomas I'd like to speak to him. Yeah. That'd be really good if he lost his father.
Yeah, then he wants to speak to you about it.
Thomas, it's about death, and I know you lost your dad. I think it would benefit you. Oh, I mean, how do you feel? How do you feel?
I don't know, things are normal.
Yeah, no, would you like to listen? It's not creepy. It's quite nice. Might help you. Losing your dad was a big thing for you. When you were 4 and when I met you 2 years ago, you found it very hard. Maybe this talk will help you to understand it a little bit more, but it's up to you. How do you feel? Come then, sit with
Looking
us.
at Mark to sit.
Yeah. Come sit with us. Take a cushion. You're right in front of the camera there, so if you move a little bit, the energy of the camera won't knock you. Thank you. Do you think about death a lot?
No.
Okay. Do you fear death?
No.
Good. Do you think about your father's death?
Not that much anymore.
You're stronger now. Not much stronger. Okay. Thank you for being truthful. I love truthfulness. So, yeah, because we try to put it in, when we start feeling better, we try to hide the fear of death. And like I was saying, many people think, I'm not frightened of death. But when it comes to nitty-gritty, they are frightened of death. So how can death be our teacher? And how can death be our friend? Because when you know, and you really know with all your heart, you know, you do know, you're going to die, don't you? Can you say,
Yes.
one day, I hope it will be when you're 100, but we don't know. But one day, will you die?
Yes.
Yes.
Say it clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, will I die? Yeah, absolutely. How exciting, new life. This life has been great. It's been a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life. It can only be a beautiful life if you know death is beautiful. It cannot be a beautiful life if you fear anything. And death is the greatest fear. All our fears are based on death. All our fears. You'll say, no, Nalanie, I'm frightened of the dark. Why are you scared of the dark? Why are you frightened of the dark? Because ultimately, what does the dark do to you? Give you fear. But why? If you're not frightened of death, why would you be frightened of the dark? Oh, I'm petrified that this this business is not going to work after I put so much into it. Why would you fear that? Don't you know, ultimately, this business will not exist even. It will, or may continue way after you're dead, and somebody else, you may have worked your entire life for it, and somebody else will enjoy the benefits. So, if you really understood death, if you really understood the depths of it, you would not worry about any of these things. You still have to be responsible in life. In fact, you will be even more responsible in life when you know that death is around the corner, because it's literally around the corner. 40 years will go like this, 10 years will go like this. I mean, remember when you were 18, and now how old are we? It's going so quick. So death is the teacher. Why? Because if we understand death, we will get up every morning and we'll make sure we want to live well. Because we chose this body, and we chose these senses, and we chose the people that we wanted to come and have karma with. Because everybody that is close to us or in contact with us is because we have some karma with them. Cause and effect. And this is where you get group karmas. You know, if you look at, where is it? Serbia and Herzegovina. Yeah, that's right. For years, they've had problems. And they keep coming back, more wars, more wars, more wars, until somebody breaks the cycle. If you look at the war zones, it's always the war zones, until somebody comes and breaks the cycle. And what breaks the cycle? Peace and love. Get rid of the weapons. That breaks the cycles. So until we break the cycles, they will never stop. Look at history. And why aren't these cycles broken? Because people think they're going to live forever. And they think this country is mine. Is it really yours? The land will be here. This house, is it mine? It's here till I'm alive. And then heaven knows who it's going to belong to. I bequeath it to my children. But who knows? They might sell it. Who knows? And neither do I care. Once I'm dead, I'm not interested. While I'm living, it's good use. How to use the home I have while I'm living to its ultimate, to the best it can be in this life. How to use your job to the ultimate, to the best it can be for you in this life. Because this life with this body is only this time. Next time you may have a crippled body. We do not know. The truth is you do not know. None of us know. All we know that there is a law. And that law is so clear, cause and effect. You can see it. And we also know there's a law of entropy, that everything dies. Everything gets older. Everything ages. Look at my beautiful tree when I had it when I came to this house. It had a lovely, the trunk looked like a face of a lion. I love that tree. Overnight, huge winds, bang. But the tree was very kind. It knew that I loved it. So what did it do? It left me a trunk. And the trunk, what did it do? All of you bought me a gift for my 60th birthday, and it became a beautiful carving. So you see, things will come and go, but they'll change. And when you don't fret about changes, and you don't fret, oh, I lost the best tree, what am I gonna do? Oh, I must tell you the story of the tree though. You know, our tree, it fell direct hit on the Mother Mary. Direct hit. She didn't even crack, right, Les? I had a Buddha stone. It cracked into thousands of pieces. But my Mother Mary, she was right on top of her, and she was dead, as you said, full. She was beautiful, and she's still pristine. And you know, if you look around her, the flower beds just grow so beautifully around her. It's just, you know, it's kind of, she's quite magical. So anyway, that's me and my Mother Mary, because I love her, because all things have energy. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it can, but anything can have energy. If I put this candle here outside and I love it and I love it and love it, will do whatever I want for it. Because whatever you give with love, whatever you nurture, it will grow. Isn't it true? But it also has the fate of dying one day. Everything that's living has to go. Or more real, more truthful. Everything transforms. The truth about death is there is no death. The wood gets chopped up, it's taken to a factory, it's made into paper. Paper is made into books you read. Look at the knowledge it gives us from one tree. How many books? Wow, nothing dies. It just changes energy. And that's when death becomes our friend. And we have so many fears in our life. If we can just understand death and really study it, like I studied it, I really think you would just be so happy to live. Because you know you got one chance in this body. One chance in this body that can work, that can think, that has a good mind. And what can you do? You know the law of cause and effect. So what would you want to do with this body? Would you spend time wasting your time stressing out all day long about this job and this computer and that computer? You would do the work, but you would understand that the stress is associated with longevity. This, you have to finish it in this time. Yes, there are certain things we have to finish in time, and there's certain stress that is good, but sometimes we give ourselves so much stress to finish things in time that we have no joy in the living. And that stress will kill us. And then what use is your life? And then what have you done in this world? Are you happy? Even if you've done nothing and you are peaceful, you've done something, haven't you? Because you're peaceful. And if you're peaceful and death should come to you, you're peaceful. But if you have no peace and death should come to you, oh my God, it's too late. It's really too late. And that's really frightening. When I first started doing counseling, I remember this man came to me, 67 years old. I'll never forget. Really depressed. So I asked him, why are you depressed? Do you have a good family? I have a lovely family. I love my wife. Been married so many years. Have so many children. Have grandchildren. Pretty good. Okay, so why are you feeling down? Do you have money? Are you broke? Are you worried? No, I have plenty of it. I can go on holiday anytime I want. So what is making you miserable? He said, Nalanie, I don't know why. There's no meaning. There is no meaning. I don't understand. I work, I built a home, I built a family. I did. I'm a good family man. I'm not a bad person. I once in a while give money to charity. I think I've done my best, but there's no meaning. And really, if you looked at his life, maybe he did do his best. So what was lacking? So I questioned him. And the first thing I said, are you frightened of death? And he goes, I'm petrified. I'm 67. I'm petrified. And I said, okay, why are you scared of death? I'm not ready to die. Why are you not ready to die? Because my life has had no meaning. So how do you give it meaning? How do you give it purpose? First of all, who are you? I asked him, who are you? So he gives me his name. And I do the usual, who gave you your name? I always ask people that. Who gave you your name? Did you choose your name? No, I didn't. Okay. So are you your name? No. What were you before you came to this body? Never thought of it. Never thought of it. I guess people call it a soul. What is a soul? Never thought of it. Do you go to church or do you pray? Yeah, my wife tells me to. There's no meaning. There's no depth. Your life has been like you're just swimming above the water. And now suddenly, where are you going? Where are you going? And that's a question his soul was asking him. Where are you going, my friend? Where is the next step? What are you going to be? And so then came his spiritual search. And the first book I recommended for him to read was about death. And what he thought about death. And had he thought about reincarnation? No, you go to heaven and hell. Do you see, this is how we've been brought up. So fixed in the views. If I do good, I'm okay, I'll go to heaven. Never done anything really bad. Well, I've cheated a few people in life, but that's nothing. But okay, I'm going to heaven. Good. So, it's so basic. And it's not the truth. And every soul searches for the truth. Every soul knows there is much more. Because you know that you are going to leave you behind when you leave this earth. Who are you going to leave behind? Esther. Esther, who are you? You always dress so beautiful. I think you're a wonderful woman. You're a good person. You've got a kind heart. You've learned to forgive. But you're going to leave her behind. And who is Esther, right? Who is Nirvana? So this is when you get in touch with who you are. That who you are never dies. It never dies. It will never die. It is only having an experience in this body. And if you know this body can go anytime, will you spend so much time fretting and complaining and being hateful and being jealous and being upset and, oh, my car got a dent, and you're in a bad mood for 3 weeks because your car got a dent? No, you will say, not worth wasting my time. I chose this body. I chose to be here. I want to know why. And when you start to live like that, at that intensity deep inside, I am soul, I am spirit, let me live spirit in the body. When you start to live with that intensity, there is a joy that comes through. Deep in the hearts of all is the light of all lights. The Lord of love, no larger than a thumb, lives in the hearts of all. We're all lights, we're all dynamic souls. We are all got the guru within. We all have the light within. What is the word guru? Remover of darkness, right? What is our darkness? All our fears. And where is the guru? Within all of us. And within all of us, there is knowledge of the light. We just don't tap it. And this is what the 67-year-old man never did. He did later on, by the way. It took him a few years, and he was very interested in spirituality after that. Then he started his training in spirituality to know who he is. And then it's like got exciting, interesting, because, oh my God, cause and effect, reincarnation. There were so many things to learn. And then finally to come to a point where everything you learn is really of no use if it doesn't serve your soul. Because everything you learn is to do with history, to do with geography, to do with computers. You can leave it all behind. What will you take with you? What can you take with you? The essence that is you. The essence that is your energy. The energy you carry. That you can take with you. Because energy is subtle. Right? Thoughts are subtle. What makes a soul? Spirit plus mind. The mind is individual. When you say self, the self with a capital S, there's no more individuality there. That's why they say, lots of spiritual people say, you have to die to yourself first. And how do you die to your ego? It's not having a big ego. All this pride, all this arrogance makes you love this world even more and get more attached. It's all the humility, all the joy, all the loving makes you less attached. That's why the greatest spiritual teachers always look so joyful and they're detached.
I switched it off.
Yes, you did.
Please
I
don't
don't
do
know what
that.
happened, I'm so sorry.
Absolutely no problem.
We did it together.
Well,
It's switched off?
it still wants to
It's
talk
an
to you.
alarm, so sorry. I was putting an alarm for something. But I switched it off the
Must get
moment.
to know you.
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Must
no
turn off my
problem.
phone alarm.
Even old alarms or
We
something.
needed to laugh about death. It makes it more. No. It makes it funny. It makes it alive. Death is not a subject to be feared. And every time I want you to hear the word death, I want you to laugh. Just have a good laugh. I'm going to die. So why am I making such a big fuss of all these things and all the petty little things when they come to your mind, and then you go, you know what? When my body is dead, none of this is going to matter. So, and the moment you think that, already the pain is half. Already the pain is half. And death is a teacher because as human beings, we have big hearts and it's wonderful to love and we love people. And that's great. That's the gift of human birth, that we can love, we can touch, we can feel, and we can care for others. That's the great joy. But at the same time, that can be our danger if we get over-attached to anything. This is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. And when you get in touch with death, nothing is mine, then it gives you that natural detachment. It comes naturally. That's why death is such a good friend and it's such a great teacher. Because the more you think about it, it naturally helps you to detach. But detachment doesn't mean not loving. And this is so misunderstood by spiritual people. I can't love you. The most compassionate people, most loving people are the most spiritual people. Look at Mother Teresa. Look at the Buddha, the compassionate one. Look at Lord Jesus, compassion. Forgive them, they know not what they do. Isn't that the height of compassion? When somebody's beaten you up and put you on a cross and put nails in you, forgive them. Compassion, because it's not real to them. They've accepted this is all unreal. This is a play. This is a part. But on this earth, these parts are necessary because these parts make the tapestry. You know Carole King, the song? You're too young, some of you. Carole King. My life is just a tapestry.
Emotion.
Yeah, rich and royal hue. And that's what our life, it's a tapestry. It's a tapestry. And you know, I always think of life, any of you done cross-stitching here in your life? One, yes, two, in school. Okay, for those who haven't, it's you get this kind of white nylon thing with lots of squares and holes in it. And then you get a picture, and sometimes the picture's embossed. Mostly the picture's embossed on this white thing that has squares in it. And then you get a box of colourful threads. And what you have to do with these colourful threads is you have to crisscross them, right? Until they make a beautiful picture on the outside. You fill in the picture. In fact, you colour it, but you sew. Now, for any of you, well, I couldn't sew well, but I loved to do tapestry. I just loved it. So as a child, I used to buy these things, read my book, and so as a result, because I didn't focus well, guess what I would always do? Prick my fingers. See, that's why focusing is really important. And then sometimes, you know, when I was doing it really, really, really quickly, because I didn't have a lot of patience as a child, I turned it over and the back was really ugly. Because when you change threads and you change colours, you have to tie neat, tiny knots. But my knots were so ugly at the back. So I take it out and I go, you know what, I can't really be bothered. Finish the picture. And I used to do it really quickly, but I would get a nice picture in the front, but at the back, a bit hypocritical. It wasn't perfect, you know. So why I'm telling you this is, our life is a tapestry. It's there. We just need to fill it in. But rather than rush through it, is we should enjoy it, because we'll die one day. So we could. So don't rush through your life. Enjoy, like that hot drink you have in your hand now. Hold it. Enjoy it. The senses are made to enjoy moderation. Too much is not good. You'll be going to the toilet all the time. Too little, you'll be dehydrated. Even with water. Moderation. Everything. Moderation. And how do you have moderation? Don't rush. Take your time. You enjoy it. You savor it. Every moment becomes precious. When you start to focus like that on the moment, it is divine. You know, our master used to say that in one of his books. He says, when you take a shower, and he actually told me that, he said, you know, Nalanie, when you take a shower, when you do anything, think, I'm bathing the Lord's body, I'm bathing the Lord's hair, I'm washing the Lord's hair, I'm cleaning the Lord's kitchen, I'm feeding the Lord's husband. You know, that everything you do is the Lord. Everything you do is divine. We use the word Lord because, or God, or whatever you want to call it, because it's very difficult for a human to see that God in everyone. Because we see too much the human flaws, but that's normal. And that's natural, and that's part of the earthly experience. That's the part we have to go through and understand, because that makes us work with one another. And that comes to the subject we will talk about on judgment next time, Fiona. I love that subject. Because you still have to react in the world. We still have to react in the world. But at the same time, we have to understand we are not of this world. So we're always like juggling. If you're too much in spirituality, you cannot enjoy this earth. And I've met many of these people, and as I'm sure many of you have, they're not grounded. They're totally up there. Oh, I'm a good person, I'm a good person, I'm a good person. They don't do anything. Just talking all the time about how good they are and how spiritual they are. Not grounded. They cannot look after themselves on the earth. They can't seem to get relationships in order. Relationships are all over the place, you know, because they're grasping. What's the point of being a good person if you can't have any peace? If you're a good person, you'll have peace. So you have to examine things like that. You have to look at yourself so deeply. What is it that's missing? Okay, so this is my human way. How can I make my human character live more fully with the divine in it? So it's easy when you can look at yourself and understand that even you don't belong to you. Okay? You don't belong to you. You didn't design you. You are a gift to you. So if you start to see, I am a gift, really? Is that true? Am I really a gift? Well, you don't. This body doesn't belong to you. It's going to die. So who gifted this body to you? What did? What gifted? You know, science is now showing outer space, inner space, it's all space, right? Science is also showing that we do not understand the inner space, and that's where we need to look to find the outer space. Correct? So, who are we? What are we? Is there really death? You have to really study these subjects. So, but like I said, as human beings, it is very natural for us, when somebody we love dies, to feel the pain. It's natural. That's what happened to you, Tom. That's what happened to me. How many of you have lost a close one? Yeah, happened to you, happened to you, happened to you, happened to you, happened to all of us. The pain is horrendous. It's terrible. But that pain, death becomes your teacher. Because that pain makes it really real. Then you really have to ask those questions, right? You were spiritual before, but it was not enough. You had to go deeper to really find the truth of, after you lose the death of somebody you're very close to, life feels very surreal, doesn't it? It's almost like for 2 or 3 weeks, nothing seems real anymore. Everything seems like it's just a dream. And that's when it gets really hard, because what's happened to you? Your soul has made a shift of consciousness. And that shift of consciousness is really an awakening. It's an awakening, but many people squash that awakening. They squash it. They don't think about it. They can't go through the pain. So they squash thinking about death. They squash understanding it. They squash all the feelings that they have because the pain is too much. But actually that pain is really so good for us because it's a teacher. It's the best teacher we can ever have. And once we can touch that surreal world and remember it, not forget it, we forget it because we don't want to look at it, but it still hurts. But if you can look at it constantly and know, yes, this is a reminder. This is a reminder. This is a reminder. So people die constantly because we keep forgetting how to live. And every time a close one dies, it reminds us again how to live. And then you say, when somebody close you will say, oh, I wish I had made that extra phone call. I wish I had said what I felt. I wish I had told that person I love them. Oh, I wish that we never got along, that we could have made friends before they died. I wish I could have said sorry. You know, all these I wish things, because it's not complete, you see. But if you live in the spirit that death is your friend, then whenever there is this pain in your life where you don't get along with people, when people hurt you, you will want to make peace, because you will know that you wouldn't know when they are going to leave this earth or you. And the worst thing that I have seen in all my years of consultation is with people who've lost somebody and have regret and guilt. I think that's the worst. Because there's no longer that person, oh, but Nalanie, I should have done this, and I should have done this, and I should have done this. Why? And this is what I hear. 99% of the time. There's no closure in themselves. And I go, you know, the person's up there flying, they're telling you, I've forgiven you, don't you know? Earth is an illusion. It is, they're up there flying. I remember what happened at my first experience with this many, many years ago when Sri Swami Satchidananda was here in Spain, actually in Marbella. And I was in the fashion business that time, I hadn't started teaching. And, well, maybe I did. I just started teaching, and then he came afterwards, it's true. Anyway, I was in Marbella, and one of my clients, she had a huge villa, so she very kindly invited us to entertain Gurudev there for a week, because she had a huge villa, and I was very grateful. With her came a couple of friends, and there was this lady who had lost her son. She had lost her son in Turkey. He had gone, he was 18, he had gone on a trip with his friends, and the last they heard of him was that he was on a boat. It was suspected that he was on drugs, all right? But no news, no body, nothing. For 2 years, she cried, they had lots of money, so they sent detectives out, they went there, there was no closure, there was nothing, and she came to Gurudev on that morning, I remember, and just burst sobbing and said, my life is a wreck, and I'm miserable, I will never have closure. And then he just closed his eyes, and he said, your son is absolutely fine there, flying, but he can't go free, because you're crying. And until you stop crying, he can be free. And he's saying, why aren't you looking after my brother? He's still alive. Why are you holding on to me? I'm gone. And she opened her eyes and said, oh, do you have another son? And she said, yes, I have a son, and he's young, he's only 13. How is he? And she realized she hasn't been bothering her well with the living. She's been too busy with the dead. And so that was my first experience about death and letting go. Because he wasn't dead, he was just flying. We all believe that we're energy, don't we? Don't you? So the energy goes where it has to go. But if we hold it back, they never grow, they never fly. In the Bhagavad Gita it says, the wise neither grieve for the living or the dead. You can feel sad, but don't over-grieve. Don't over-grieve. Yes, you take time, you take the pain. It's pain and grieving are two different things. Pain is pain. Grieving is like, you know. Pain will always be there. Because there's always pain, because at one time we're all connected. The soul is connected. So of course when you have a partner, or mother, or your father, they're very close. These are very close people in your life, your children. These are close. Family people are close people. Of course there is a bond. And in that bond there's a lot of unconditional love, right? There's a lot of, yes, there's a lot of arguments and there's a lot of this, but they're deep, that's human, that's normal. That is so normal to have arguments and to disagree. But that's human stuff. But deep within you, if you can just remember those bonds, they're really strong. So those bonds make you feel like two become one. At some point you become one. You laugh because she's sick and you feel her pain, right? So two become one. And so of course when two become one and it's separated, the feeling of separation is going to cause pain. So pain is normal. Anytime you force separation, it is painful. But there is no need to over-grieve. Our master used to say, when death comes to your life, cry, have a good cry, feel sad, do it for a few days, and then get over it. Then get over it. Because you are living, and there's a reason why you are still living. And you insult the person that dies by not living well. Because they died in order for you to continue. And if you don't continue and you're hanging on to them, you're insulting their death. Why did they die? They might as well have been here. There was something, they had to leave their body. for you to learn something about yourself. They've done their job. We haven't, and that's why we stay. If you've done your job, you can be sure you're dead. It's true. You're done. You're no longer needed. Do you know when your last breath is going to happen? You did. Look what happened to you. One day fine, next day, can't breathe. We're about to rush you to hospital. Get a Ventolin shot. Boom. Wake up. So, and this is how, if you can look at death as a friend, really there's some really lovely books out. Life After Life, Raymond Moody. Any of you read Raymond Moody? Yeah, you have. Beautiful books. He's a doctor who didn't believe in life after death, and when he had so many patients who'd gone through near-death experiences, and he said, okay, so they go through this tunnel and they see this light, and more and more and more and more patients would come back with the same story. He said, there has to be some truth in this. There has to be some truth in it. So he realized that we never die. And also, all the people that came back started to live totally differently. And have you read the book by Anita Moorjani? It's called Dying to Be Me. It's on the internet, I'm sure. I met her in Hong Kong. She actually died. And amazing lady. I met her when she just healed herself a year after. She had cancer, and she had tumors all over her body. She went to India, she did yogic practices, she did all kinds of diets, she did everything, you know, to help herself to get better. Nothing worked. Nothing worked. So in the end, she got frustrated, she got upset, everybody talked about natural things, she did the whole lot. Nothing worked. In the end, she had tumors all over her body. She was sent to hospital. And, you know, they called her brother. He was in India and said, please come to Hong Kong. Your sister is going to die anytime. So while he was on the plane, she had passed away. And all the doctors were there. And during the time when she was dead, she had the most incredible experience of her life. And the experience, you have to read her book. I mean, her book is not as good as her talk. When I heard her talk live, she was amazing. The book was written quite a few years later.
Would it be on YouTube?
Pardon?
Would it be on YouTube?
Yes, it will be. I'm sure it will be. And it was, who was it? Wayne Dyer that met her and asked her to tell her story. But when I heard her story, it was just a year after the event. So the feeling of that story was so fresh, you know, and it was just a group of Indian women, about 20 of us. And she gave us a talk about her experience. And what she said was, when she left the body, and she had this wonderful being that showed her what happened after death. And what that being showed her after death was very beautiful. She saw the Christians in one corner, the Jewish people in another, Buddhists in another, and they were all there praying in their own company. But everybody covered in love. Everybody was loving. She saw that it didn't make a difference there. She saw that there was only love. There was no heaven and hell like everybody told her. But it was just love. All she felt was just love. Anyway, so they took her and she saw these beautiful visions of everybody, all the different spirits helping all the souls that were coming up from earth. They were all dying, you know, so many millions dying, and all the souls picking them up and looking after them and covering them in love. She saw that she had to go through her own life, and she could see very clearly, as if she was watching a television show, all the mistakes she had made and all the good things she had made, all the good things she had done in her life. So she saw it all in panoramic view, and she loved being there. And then she was told that she had a choice. They would like her to go back. She had still work to do, because she had to let the world know about the truth of what happens to the soul. And she had work to do, and she had to go back. She didn't want to come back, obviously. She said, I've got a broken body full of tumors, you know. full of pain. I've been suffering for 3 years or whatever it was. I don't want to go back to that body. And even at that point, they gave her a choice. You can stay. That is your choice. That is your freedom. But if you go, at least you will complete. You still have karma with your husband. You still have karma with your family. You will complete it. And you will do the extra mission. But if you stay, don't worry, you'll get another body. So the choice was hers. And then when she thought about it, reluctantly, she agreed to go back to the body. And said, but what's the point? What can I do? What can I do with this broken body? And they promised her the cancer would be healed. So she went back in the body, choking, coming up, and nobody could believe it. They couldn't believe that this woman had died for 40 minutes or whatever it was and was back into the body. And so the doctors were worried because she still had all the tumors. She was skinny and small and everything. So they wanted to give her the medication and she had to, stop, test my blood again. And then she started to tell them what she saw, what she was told. Of course, they did the test the next day and cancer was clear. But it took 6 months to build up her body strength because she'd been so thin and she'd had so many tumors, so the body had to take its time. So that was Anita Morjani, and I remember I was so excited when she said that story. And I was so excited that people were coming back to tell us the truth. Because, you know, when you read the Mahabharata as well, Mahabharata is a very old Indian text. From it comes the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is known as the Upanishad. I have it here. I love quoting from the Gita, you know. The Gita is an Upanishad. What does an Upanishad mean? Up by the feet of the master. So in the middle of the Mahabharata, there is this war. There is this war. There's this horrible war. And Arjuna is the student and the teacher is Krishna, meaning the Christ or the Guru within. And he has to face this war. And he doesn't want to face the war because his enemies are his family. His enemies are his family. But his family's been horrible to him. They've been terrible. They've lied. They've cheated. So he tells Krishna, I don't want to hurt them. And Krishna tells him, but you have to fight this war. If you allow unrighteousness to continue in the world, who will save the good? Who will bring righteousness to our world? You have been sent here. Your karma is to save. And unfortunately, in order to save, what do you have to do? You have to fight. But how do you fight? And that comes into the judgment thing again. Without anger in your heart, with love. To run away from a duty that's given to you is cowardice. And people in the future will laugh at you. What kind of warrior was this Arjuna? When he had to save his country, he said, I'm going to run away and meditate. What kind of warrior is it? He's not a Brahmin. He's not a priest. Why is he running away to meditate? He has to look after his people. So there's Krishna showing him that when you're on this earth, we all got karma to fulfill. We have to fulfill it. And he tells him, you're going to die anyway. One day, okay? You're going to die. He says, soul is not born, soul does not die. What dies is the body. And what is the body like? He says in chapter 2, what is your body? Your body goes from young age, and then first it's a baby, then middle age, then old age, and then just like you would drop a garment when it's old and throw it away, you throw your body away. Don't worry, you'll get a new body. You will never die. And he says, the weapons cannot hurt you. Winds cannot dry you. Fire cannot burn you because you can never die. So why do you feel all these things? So your body dies. Big deal. So it gets cut. Big deal. Your soul, your energy. Anyway, so he says, the righteous always win. So after this horrible war, which is terrible, what happens? Of course, the good guys win. Because righteousness will always win. But it always has to go through its test for human karma. That's why we get those tests. That's why every spiritual person is tested. You test it. You have to go, how do you know you can do it if you're not tested? How do you know what pain is if you're not tested? How do you know where your soul lives if you don't question the soul? How do you know any of these things if you don't question, you don't ask, you don't observe? You won't know. So anyway, at the end of the battle, the good guy wins. So after that, they live a very peaceful existence, albeit quite boring. In fact, funny, Kunti, the mother of Arjuna, she actually prayed, she said, you know, God, when my sons were in trouble from their evil stepbrothers, every day I remembered you. Every day I felt your presence in my life. Now everything is peaceful, I forget you. Don't ever let me forget you. Isn't it quite funny that? It's really, I love that she said that, Kunti, because it is quite true of human beings. When everything is going well, we forget about our souls, because, yeah, let's party, let's do this, let's do that, and then bang! And then you get a shock. And then you wake up. And then you wake up. So anyway, at the end of it, okay, the 5 brothers turn to die. Arjuna goes off this earth, leaves his body, goes into the heavenly realms. And what does he see as soon as he gets to heaven? His evil stepbrother who caused the war. And he's so confused. And he says, well, what? What was it all about? How come he's in heaven enjoying the fruits of heaven when he did so much evil? And Krishna answers, yes, he stays here for a little while, very little while, because here everything is love. But he has to take a body again, and there he will face his karmas. So you see a twofold existence here. A complete existence where you have understood that you are spirit soul, and you do your duty and fulfill it. And then you can enjoy the heavens for a long time. But if you have work, you still have to come back. And the other existence, everything you saw on this earth does come back to you. So the more evil you do, the quicker you come back, the quicker you experience, the more pain, and the wheel goes on and on and on and on till we break it. So when I first read the Mahabharata, I didn't like that ending, because I was in that many years ago. Oh, they deserve to be judged and they deserve to suffer. Kind of thing. There's no judgment. There's no fairness. What is this? What kind of world do we live in? And then I realized, wow, my view of God was very small and limited. That the real view was just love. It's like the sun. It doesn't decide, you're bad, I'm not going to shine my light on you. You're good, I'm going to shine my light on you. It doesn't do that. It just shines its light on everyone equally. Karma, life, death, situations, that's the freedom we've been given. If we use the divine in us, then our lives will be, the tapestry will be beautiful. We'll be given beautiful pictures to cross-stitch. But if we become I, me, mine, and get angry and want to possess and own, etc., then our tapestries will not be so beautiful. And when you can understand that flow of life and death as one, it's just continuous, then it's very hard. And this is what Anita said to me actually after the talk. She said, Nalanie, the hardest thing for me is, after seeing that love, is ever to judge anybody again. And yet in this world, In the world we live in, there is duality. What was that? And yet, in this world, there is duality. There is duality, and we have to attend to that which is right and this is which is wrong. And then I said, the way I get past that one, again and again, is thanks to Sri Patanjali and the Raj Yoga science, is the mind is sick. Attend to the mind of the person, but know that their soul is beautiful. Know that the soul is beautiful. If the mind is sick, you have to give it the right medicine. So if a person is really nasty and you're trying to be really nice, you know the story about the monkey and the bird? It doesn't work. You're giving the wrong person, the wrong medicine to that person. You know the story of the monkey and the bird, all of you? Oh no, should I tell you the story of the monkey and bird? Some of you know it really well. It's in the forest, lives the monkey and the bird. And the summer months pass, and the monkey's playing and swinging from tree to tree. And the poor bird, or the lovely bird, is really a hard worker, making its nest really, really, really nicely, and starts building the nest. And so winter comes, and the bird is so cozy in its nest. And the monkey's shivering, I'm so cold. And then the bird says, monkey, monkey, you know, if you could spend a little bit more time in the summer rather than just jumping around and being happy, if you could have worked a little harder, you would have had a shelter for yourself. Look at me, I worked in the summer and now I'm cozy in the winter. Did the bird say anything wrong? Nothing. The monkey goes, what? You teeny weeny bird telling me what to do? The monkey? And what does he do? Jumps to the nest and breaks it. Now, that's quite a sad story because the poor bird was only doing that which was good, right? Giving advice. You give advice to a person who's not willing to receive it. They'll squash you. Haven't you seen that happen? They'll squash you. I remember Devi again. I love talking about Devi. She gave me lots of examples in her life. So this is how you have to really juggle how you treat people as a soul and how you treat them as a mind. If you can separate it in yourself, my higher self and this is my lower self, then you can do it with everybody. That's why the yogi said, learn about yourself first. Because if you can do it with you, you can do it with everyone. It's easy. Today you'll say, oh, my mind's going really silly. Oh, I'm going to let it play. It's okay. It's not causing harm. So I can be silly. I can be like a child. But you know, you're very conscious that your mind is separate from you. This is why I love the yoga science. And this takes practice. And you're very conscious that the self in you is eternal. You're very conscious of that. Now, this is practice, practice, practice. That's the practice. The practice is all the time reminding yourself who you are, who you are, who you are. Are you eternal? I'm not this body. I'm not this mind. Yeah. So now you see, so how do you work in the world with people? Like I said, you have to know when to apply the right medicine at the right time, because we do live in a world of duality. So somebody is really horrible to you, they take advantage of you, and you say, oh, I'm a good person, do it. Hello? Wake up. Wrong medicine. The more you give in, the more you'll be manipulated, right? What are you doing? You're allowing yourself to be used. At the same time, you're allowing that person to treat you badly. Two bad karmas. You're not helping anyone. If somebody is treating you badly and you stand up for yourself and say, I don't deserve that. What are you doing? Two good things. You're standing up for who you are. Your body doesn't belong to you. You need to stand up for the gift that's not yours, to look after it. And the other thing is you're stopping the other person from repeatedly causing bad actions. So actually being very unselfish. So you see, spirituality is so fine-tuned. You have to really understand what is best for all concerned. All. What is a perfect action? One that brings some benefit to someone and no harm to anyone, including yourself. Yes?
I also find that the 4 locks and keys are quite a good tool to use in situations like that. The medicine.
It's best medicine.
Yeah, it's
You're
just
100%. The 4 locks and keys are the best. This is why Gurudev says in Sri Patanjali, he actually says, if you don't read the rest of the book and you just take this one sutra and practice it in your life, you can live a good life. You can live a good life. Because those are the 4 locks and keys that you use with humanity. And sometimes I always have a problem. In fact, I should have brought the poem about, next time maybe if you remind me, I'll bring a poem that somebody wrote to me about, oh, poor guy or poor person that is wicked, shouldn't we learn to forgive them? And then I answered back and I said, of course, we've forgiven that person already, but the person doesn't know it. In our hearts we've already forgiven, but they don't know it. If we tell them we've forgiven them, because they're wicked, then they'll manipulate us. So we have to show that we haven't forgiven, for them to know. So every action is based on selfless and not selfish. Do you see? When you start to do that up in that deep, deep, deep level, you see a different world. You see a different world. But yes, 4 locks and 4 keys is amazing. You know, it is absolutely, that's why I love Sri Patanjali so much, as all the tools you can use to live a good life and how to live it. But so much of it's misinterpreted. Spirituality, so much of spirituality is misinterpreted. If you stand up for yourself, oh, you're cheeky and you're rude. Do you know? Oh, how can a spiritual person stand up for themselves? And the whole of the Bhagavad Gita is Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, stand up for yourself. And people come to me when they read the Bhagavad Gita, why is God telling Krishna to fight? Aren't we against wars? Absolutely, but he's talking about the war of our minds. Where does it all start? What is right? What is wrong? Who knows what is right? What is wrong? Ultimately, all we know are energy levels, negative, positive. What brings benefit and what doesn't bring benefit. Sometimes a negative action can bring a lot of benefit. For example, spoiled brat throwing a tantrum, stop it right now. Looks negative, you see that, somebody shouting, wow, look at that mother or father, best thing for their child. Nowadays it's so wishy-washy. A child throws a tantrum, oh my poor child. Do you see? Ends up a spoiled brat, child grows up, nobody likes that child. What a spoiled brat, makes no friends, can never make friends. What went wrong? Was never guided. Why? Because my mum was too soppy. Too scared of scolding me, poor child, my child. Oh, if you really love your child, you want the best for your child. When you really love somebody and they're doing something that's hurting, you need to tell them. There's too little truthfulness, but how to tell them in the nicest way possible. And sometimes even when you tell them in the nicest way possible, they're going to get upset. But it's okay. Why is it okay? Because you have their best interest in heart. You want them to shine. Even if they get angry with you, it doesn't matter. They can get angry with you, but let them shine. Because ultimately, we're all one. We are all brothers and sisters. We really are all one. And when we can understand that oneness, then there's no fear of death. Because here we have the separation of relationships and people, but there we're all one. All we're going to feel is this dynamic energy called love. And we're just going to love to work, to lift everybody up. That's all we want to do. We're going to work harder, but the only thing is we can fly everywhere we want. And so, my advice is, think about death a little bit more in your life. And how you think about it, it's not in the negative way, in the most positive way. One day, I know this body shall go. To death will it go. But who am I? I never die. I never die. You never die. All the scriptures say we're eternal. So if more lifetimes. No big deal. You know, Swami Vivekananda in his earlier life used to say, you know, working, as most spiritual people start working, so I don't want to come back again to this earth. I don't want to come back again to this earth. But towards the end of his life, he changed totally. He said, I'll keep on coming back to this earth on two conditions, God. One, that I never forget you, and two, that I'm always used as an instrument of peace. And I'll keep on coming. And that's the final conclusion you get as a spiritual being, is what else are you going to do with eternity? Either merge into the oneness, in which case you will have no more personal experience. That's great, but there's no more you. You and space are one. Can you even contemplate that? We can't. Our minds can't do it. We're not meant to do it. But we can contemplate that oneness in this body when we have silence. We can. We can touch it. We can understand it. When we can touch it, and we can understand it, then the fear of death will not hold us. Yes, sorrow is normal. You will always have sorrow in this life, but also you will have joy in this life. Both. It will always be that way. It's never going to change. It is a world of duality. It will never change. The only thing is that when you change, when you understand, it's also normal. That is a play, it's a movie, and the director say, come on, I got the best part for you in your life as you are. I've given you everything you need. Why are you stressing out? And why are you so troubled? And why are you so angry? Don't you know? If you remove yourself from those feelings, you are actually very free and you can live a beautiful life when you're not angry. You don't need to hold on to any of your enemies. Why are you holding on to your past? It's already done. There's no need to hold on to any of your past. It's done. Let it all go. Why are you holding on to your mistakes? I've forgiven you 1,000 times. Didn't Lord Jesus tell St. Peter that when he asked how many times should we forgive? 70 times 7, he answered him. Doesn't the Lord and your Father do more for you every day? More for you every day. So you're already forgiven. Just learn the lesson and get on with it. But what do? We play the same record over and over and over. Poor me syndrome. Repeat. There's no time to repeat. Death is coming at your door, don't you know? Stop making the same mistakes. You made a big deal. Forgive it. Let it go. Start moving on. New beginning. Every day is a new beginning. We die. Every minute we die. That breath that I just breathed is gone. This talk will be gone. I mean, she put it on camera. But the energy in this room will be here forever. Energy will be there. It'll disperse. Your love, that energy will stay here. Will stay as long as this room is filled with the energy. And one day, when it stops, when all of you stop coming, the energy will go. Who's created the energy? You. Why do you create this energy? Because you're in love. You're in that energy of the oneness. And how do you get in the energy of that oneness? It's to know that you, as an individual, you're temporary. You're really not that important. And yet you're every bit as important as everybody else. You see the paradox? You're nothing and you're everything. We're really nothing. Billions of people in the world, so much self-importance. What a lot of nonsense. We're not important. And yet, in our minds, that's all we have. But this is the gift to understand. This is the gift. This is the instrument that can be important and is important. Because without this instrument, how do you know you're divine? How can you feel? How can you love? How can you taste without this body? Don't go, I don't want to live in this body anymore. I want to die. The only reason you want to die is because you're not getting what you want on this earth. But when you die, you definitely won't. And what you want is here. So never consider suicide. What a joke it would be on you. It's a cosmic joke. That's why suicide is against the law of karma. Because your karma is here. You can fix it here. Once your body is gone, you cannot fix it. So whatever you need to fix, fix it here. That is the reason why you should make death as a friend. It encourages you to forgive more quickly. If there are, people you've hurt in your life, apologize. What stops you? Ego. I'm right, you're wrong. Who really cares at the end of the day? Then I tell you, Duryodhana was up there, along with Arjuna. At the end of the day, here is where duality is, on this earth. And this is where we can fix it. We cannot fix it anywhere else. Because when we leave this, there's no more duality. So this is really important to understand about death. And that's why make death your friend. Don't be afraid of it. Talk about it when you need to. And when somebody dies, talk about it. Don't pretend that they're never there. They're there. They're saying, hey, I'm dead. Why isn't anybody talking about me? Did you forget my energy so quickly? You respect them by talking about them. Give them some credence to their life. They were some use. Everybody has some use. So make death a friend. Understand it. Study it. Read about it. One of my favorite books was Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Any of you read it? Sotogrande Rinpoche. It's a Buddhist book. Have you read it?
A little bit.
Yeah, it gets very Buddhist. Sometimes bodhisattvas and all that stuff, but you can read that part quickly. The part helping the dying is really brilliant, and some of the other things it says is really quite beautiful. But for me, if you're not a Buddhist, it can get a little intense. Just skip through those bits, but the rest of it is very, very beautiful.
There is a place in Indonesia.
Yes.
They live with the death for like 2 or 3 years. They have like these special houses, and when the person dies, they dress the dead person, and they put the dead person on the table, and they celebrate the death.
Yeah.
They don't let go.
That also is...
I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a tribe in Indonesia. I think they are in Sulawesi.
I
think
don't know
it's
of that.
Sulawesi,
I've
yeah.
never heard of that. That's really interesting. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Can
Yes.
I ask about this Tibetan
Book of Living and Dying, yes.
There is this part where the soul leaves the body and gets anxious and nervous and may go into the wrong body, like an animal. It was very confusing when I read it, and my mom was dying on that time.
Yeah, because what they do is, the Tibetans, they also have the 7 hells and 7 heavens, right? They talk about the different bardos, or the different ways of being. I love the way my master taught, Lord Jesus taught. For me, I like simple, right? For me, keep it simple. That's the secret. Keep it simple. What is God? The Lord of love. Keep it simple. And I find many of these teachings go into all the many dimensions. As you think, it becomes. So if you see there are many hells and many heavens, that's what you're going to think, right? So I just see there's one dimension like the Mahabharata, and like Anita Morjani tells me, because for me it's so clear. It's like the sun. It always shines on everyone.
So it's a matter of choice.
It's a matter of choice. And actually these things, I think, just bring fear into people. They bring horrible fear. And again, fear is against the law of love. And fear exists here. So if you don't even have that in your mind, you don't even need to look at that section. That's what I do.
Well, I stumbled on it and I was reading it until
yes.
I just got fed up with it.
You
It
do.
didn't, well, I don't like the word belief system, but it was clashing with mine. And,
Yes,
I just
yes.
left it.
Yeah, Gurudev said something to me many years ago, I think that really just shook my whole belief system out of access. And that was when I was, and I've met many people with the same problem. When I was young, I used to hear a lot of noises, voices, etc. Many people do. And I was very scared as a child. I used to run to my sister, wake her up. I'm so scared. This went on till I started, till the age of 35. Could never sleep in a room alone. I was petrified. I always had lights on all night. 35 years old, is pretty old to live with this.
I'm still there.
Yeah. Well, maybe this story is for you then. So when Gurudev came, that time he came to Marbella, I was having a lot of time. I took a week off work just to be with him. And I said, you know, Gurudev, I get really scared at night. My poor husband, I wake him up every night, telling him there are ghosts breathing down my neck, and there are spirits, and and I can't sleep, and I'm scared. I'm just really scared. And then he goes, it's all in your mind. Simple. No. It's not all in my mind. I actually feel it. Yeah. If you allow it, you will feel it. It's in your mind. So what do? Take it off your mind, and it won't exist. Pardon? I can do that? As you think it becomes. So, yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, the restraint of the modification of the mind stuff is yoga. So if these thoughts are frightening you, what do? Restrain them. If you don't give them energy, they no longer exist. For example, if I don't think of an apple, I won't want to eat an apple, would I? I wouldn't, would I? So if I don't think of ghosts and spirits, will they come to my life? They wouldn't, would it? Because it wouldn't exist in my mind. What doesn't exist in a thought will not exist in my world. True or not? Do you see how simple and pure that line of thinking is? And when he said that to me, well, it did take me time. It did take me time. But my worst time was, it just so happened that a few months later, for the first time, my kids were in boarding school. My husband had to go to Hong Kong for business. It was 9 days, I'll never forget it, alone, in February, living on the 8th floor, Marina Court, and the winds blew and had rickety windows. They weren't even good double glazed windows, rickety all night. So first night, he'd gone, sleeping on my own. All the ghosts, all the breathing, all the noise, all the dead people I'd seen in my life. And I go, it's all in my mind. Did I believe it? No. I don't know how many mantras, Our Fathers, Hail Marys, I did all night long. Every single prayer I could think of. Didn't sleep. Petrified. Second night, same thing. Same thing. Windy. Third night, exhausted because I had to work all day. My husband wasn't there to run the shops. 2 shops. Came back late. Still the bad weather. I said, God, you really got to give me a break here, you know? Still hearing all the noises, still having all the breathing, still. And then I went, Nalanie, just stop it. When are you going to learn to restrain that thought? It's a thought. And if they exist in their dimension, I want nothing to do with their dimension. Finish. I'm done with this dimension. I slept. I'm done. I just got so fed up with my fear. And what brought the fear? I made it exist. How did I make it exist? The more you think about something, the more it magnifies, doesn't it? You let it go. Even if it exists, it doesn't exist in you. So even if that thing is there, if there are evil people with wars around, like you turn on the news, right? You don't turn on the news, it doesn't exist. You turn it on, it exists. You keep it in your mind, oh my God, your life is ruined because life is horrible. All I see are wars. This is why all these people talking about wars and fears and all the bad governments doing anything. You're creating the hell. You don't need to live there. I'm actually living in a very nice house, in a very nice place. How do I make a difference? By spreading love and simplicity. That's the only way. Break those negative thoughts. Only way you can do it is disregard the wicked. Don't give it energy, neither good nor bad. Sometimes we try to be good and want to take all the bad away. It's actually the worst thing for the bad. What do I always say? Cover it in light. Cover it in light. Best thing. Walk away. You cannot. Sometimes you go to a place where you are. Would you go to a lion's den if you are not a lion tamer? You would not. Why? You go to a lion's den and you're not a lion tamer, what will happen to you? You'll die. So this is it with life. So thought, and that was the biggest gift he gave me. The biggest gift of all. And the ghosts all went. Now if they want to see me, they come in my dreams. And it's really very easy to deal with it in dreams. Any message I get in dreams. I love it. easy, no no fear, nothing. If I need a message, I'll get it. It's as simple as that. So, to answer your question, if we create it, it's there. It's there. There are thousands of dimensions that we don't even know about, but we don't need to know about. They have no relevance in our life. They give us nothing in our life. What's the point of me thinking about ghosts? What can I do? Can I change those crying ghosts? No, all I can do is do lots of mantras for you, go to the light. That's what I can do. So it's all in the mind. One simple statement. Thank you. And time's up, she's telling me. Thank you.
Last on note.
Yeah, stop, Nalanie. You're done. That's for today. Thank you. So, yeah. As the mind. Yeah, correct. Thoughts, all thoughts. That's why we make less thoughts. Fill the mind with love, joy, less thoughts. So we'll finish with 3 of us.